All right, good morning, everyone. And I'm excited to be here. I think we'll have a lot more people coming in shortly. So, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and fellow enthusiasts of AI, welcome to the enlightened panel discussion on AI Renaissance, illuminating the uncharted frontiers of generative intelligence. So, we live in an era where AI is evolving at an unprecedented pace. We've gathered today at the ABC Conclave, world's largest Web3 carnival, to explore the cutting-edge advancements and uncharted territories of generative intelligence. Our esteemed panelists here today bring a wealth of expertise, each representing a unique facet of this transformative landscape. Together, we aim to shed light on the profound impact of AI in various domains and navigate the potential it holds for shaping our future. Let's embark on this intellectual journey, uncovering the mysteries of AI's renaissance and the limitless possibilities it presents. I want this to be the best panel you've been to on AI, and we're going to pack a lot of insights over the next 25 to 30 odd minutes, but I need your help to achieve this goal. So get your questions ready towards the end of this session as well. So I'd like to begin by asking Fatma, can you provide an overview of the current state of generative intelligence and how it differs from previous iterations of AI, and what potential do you see for its impact on various industries?
Yeah, sure. So what we can see in the usage of generative AI in the technologies or implementation like metaverse or in the use cases of the metaverse is the advantage of the generative AI and how the different enterprises, individuals can leverage the generative AI, like the usage of personal assistant or different agents that support the personal or the individual to take certain decision or to enhance the transaction or seeking transaction from different enterprise. Different use cases on that, or even in the healthcare where can build the or use the generative AI for the prediction of a certain disease, or supporting the doctor for taking better decisions, or writing reports after the scans or so on. So this kind of the usage or the use cases that can be implemented using generative AI.
Thank you, Fatma. I think, as you said, we're seeing a lot of what we call as work tasks being eliminated using generative AI, and that's the thing that we want to see, eliminate the repetitive tasks using AI. Ali, generative models like GPT-3 have demonstrated remarkable capabilities in natural language processing. How do you envision these models evolving to address more complex tasks and challenges in the future?
Okay, what I will say is that the generative AI, one of the things is that it is quite much effective, but another important aspect is that it is democratized to an extent that ordinary people have started to take the benefits. So that's a more important thing which is there. Now, as things evolve, as we have more better GPUs, and we have more better models, what's going to happen is that, see, at a macro level, what happens? One is the thing is the user-to-user communication, right? So what we would see across that more commonly we will see across that, okay, if I was speaking in English language, but there is somebody who is a speaker of a Chinese language. So automatically the translation is going to happen, and this is not happening right now, but within our society we would see across that such kind of language translation is happening in real time, which is very, very much realistic. Secondly, if we could see across that maybe everybody is not expressive, right? So we have people who are like speakers, but what can happen is that people who do not speak in expressive ways, generative AIs will help them in real time so that their concepts could go to a wider audience quite much easily. Similarly, maybe in a future, if a panel discussion is happening across and I'm trying to explain a concept, at the back end, automatic content is generated, which is giving the visualization to what I am speaking across and what I think across, that such a thing is going to help the humanity to go to a next leap. Secondly, we could see that with generative AI, I can create content, right? I could summarize that particular content. And again, if I go to an ordinary coffee machine, I have a display, right, in which I am going to select the coffee. Why? in the future, we as humans like to speak, right? That's what we are doing right now. So what is going to happen that all these particular equipment, electronic equipment that is available right now, that has a power plug with it, which is a very like embedded capability. So speech capability and understanding the human language and doing the actions accordingly. So I can just go across to the coffee machine and say, I want a cappuccino, and here that is. So it is prepared across. So that's embedded within that particular ecosystem. That I see, that would be coming across quite in a few years. Third thing is that if we see across, we say, okay, we have this DALL-E 2 model or Mid-Journey, they are generating images. But again, a more effective immersive experience requires a lot of 3D content generation, right? And this is one of the things metaverse would also require, that a lot of 3D content should be there. So now, in this area, like for example, Observerse is one such 800,000 3D objects are present. So using generative AI, if you could create the content, so that's going to be much more powerful. Another thing that I see across is living code. What I feel based on that right now, you create applications which are static. You deploy those particular applications. But imagine if there is a regulatory requirement, there is a business requirement, based on which it have that particular prompts, and those particular screens or the backend is added across dynamically, right? So it is a living code. It evolves itself. Secondly, if there are any security vulnerabilities, it could get that particular data. Based on that, it is prompted to evolving model. So it could create, and using a secure DevOps pipeline, that thing is available. So all these things become very, very much faster. Now, these are all the opportunities which are going to actually make the overall process quite much faster. Human to human interactions are improved, human to machine interactions are improved, and we are able to actually create things faster, right? Because at the end, everything is a software. What I think, there are a lot of threats that are going to come as well. Why? Because, see, when we interact with the governments, with the wider industry, banks give a bank guarantee that is just a paper. University gives a degree, which is also just a paper. My driver license is a paper, my visa is a paper. Now, imagine somebody creates a malicious chat GPT that creates very, very much realistic fakes. And it is in the hand of ordinary people. Now, governments are kind of in a problem. All the organizations are kind of a problem, because how do you address those fakes? Because right now it might be 1%, but that would become 50%, right? So this is a big threat that is going to come across as well. Secondly, if we say across that, okay, no, I have a digital record of all those particular paper documents, I can detect it within my system, that's very good. But again, we could see that generative AI, if you ask for it to generate the code, it can generate the code. And we have 80% of the software that is working throughout the world is open source code. So somebody can create a model which could detect vulnerabilities on those particular code quite much fast. So the overall surface area for the cyber security becomes much higher. So now, I think these are the threats that are going to come with the open AI. It's a matter of time. This malicious chat GPT is created by somebody, and then people would be running around the technologies like blockchain to have a trusted record available. So yeah, that's what
thank you for that, Atli. I think there's been a lot of discussions about tethered AI and concerns about ethics and biases, everything that's happening. And that kind of segues into my next question for you, Suraj. Bias and diversity in AI models has been a significant concern. How can we work towards mitigating biases and ensuring that generative models are inclusive and representative of diverse perspectives and cultures?
Right. This is a very difficult problem, actually. I won't say it is solved or I know the answer to it. I would rather like to take a step back, okay, and look at where does Web3 fit in all this AI and generative AI space, okay? And, we all in Web3, we love speculation, we love thinking of the future, where it is heading. And in all this, I like to take a context of what our humanity is and what we are. Okay, this is an analogy. Bear with me for a couple of minutes. Okay. So, if you look at the Earth today, okay, we are what, 8 billion people, right, working together, almost an economy of 100 trillion, okay. Let's say US 50 years ago, it was a very good collective economy, okay, trusted, and all the systems around it, okay. Now, if you look at my body, okay, I am a collective intelligence of 30 trillion cells.
True.
Okay. You go back 250 million years ago, there was no body, there were just cells. Okay. Imagine 250 million years ago, some cells would be in a conference like this. They would be talking, what is the future of us? Probably. Okay. So, they worked very hard, and over a period of time, they built a system that is this body, which is now together working 30 trillion individual working together, okay? And now you can imagine this as one Earth, okay? This Earth has a transportation system connecting everything via your blood. It has a internet, a World Wide Web, laid all cables via your nervous system across. It has proper immigration systems to check if someone is coming from outside. There are countries within it, okay, lungs. China is good at manufacturing. Similarly, we have a digestive system, excretion system. Everything is there, okay. So, and the biggest of it all, at least what we think it is the biggest, we are very brainiac and egoistic people, so we think the biggest of it all is the governance, okay. That governance which sits apparently in our head, okay. So it is a working model where so many people are doing, and at that scale, all the systems, energy, raw materials, supply chain, communication, alignment within the community, all of these problems have been solved at a scale of 30 trillion individuals. Okay, we are today at an 8 billion level. Okay, how well we build the systems now, okay, it includes everything. Starts from your governance, goes to your intelligence also, okay. That is our journey to make over the next, I don't know how many millions of years. Probably we'll also grow into a big civilization. But I always take this as a template to see where we are. Okay, I don't have the answer to what you asked me.
No, I understand that, and I think what you're trying to do is to relate that to how us as a civilization has evolved, and how we've kind of taken into certain aspects of the constructs of how we live today. But today, like you said, what we take decisions in terms of creating these models or generative AI models goes a long way into defining how we actually use them in today-to-day applications. Otherwise, we're going to run into a lot of issues. So today, there's been a lot of talks about putting a ban on developing AI, or 6-month ban. I think that's no one's talking about it. But the prime considerations of this has been around ethics. So Fatma, what are your thoughts? How can we ensure that generative AI technologies are developed in a manner that upholds values of fairness, transparency, and accountability?
Yeah. So I will refer to the point that Ali just mentioned, the human-to-human interaction in generative AI, and the human-to-machine interaction. Imagine we are in the metaverse using AI and Gen AI. And we have the avatar to agent discussion or, conversation, how this can be secured, how this can be, protected so it will not be abused or there will not be bullying and so on. So this one will take us to the back end, how this one, even from the design and the data can be designed from scratch, leveraging the principles and the the best practices for responsible AI. So it's starting from the data design, starting from writing the data confidentiality and what will be the exchange between the different stakeholders in this metaverse. If the avatar is communicating with his agent or personal assistant to seek certain transaction or service from a government entity, what he owns, what he needs to know about the government entity or this enterprise, and so on. So this will be the data categorization. So this one as well should be considered. And then the algorithm, what kind of the algorithm that this Gen AI is built on and how we can secure it. And the fourth model or the fourth point will be the governance, how this all can be governed by the framework, a strong framework that goes from the data design to the data confidentiality and the categorization of the data, and then the algorithms that built on the AI, and then this framework. And here, this point also take me to the point that discussed early this morning in the second keynote, which is the DAO model, right? How the DAO can be structured and how the voting mechanism can be also implemented. And happily, I want to say that we have already implemented that in one of the products that we are working on at MetaEssence, which is Conclave-Dubai. It is basically the sovereign metaverse, where we implemented the concept of the real-time personal assistant with the some of the models or the principles applied on the how we implement the responsible AI of the communication, how we make sure that our beliefs, our culture here as the Arab world is already impacted in this environment, but not only that, how we make sure that the user or the end user that he is actually interacting in this kind of environment, he has the full ownership on his data. And also, he can communicate freely in this environment, make sure that if he will do one of any transaction, he will get rewarded because of his, sharing his data with the stakeholders. So the concept of the Web3, how we implemented this in self-sovereign identity for the end user, how we implemented the responsible AI concepts and principles on this platform, and also how we consider the Gen AI or generative AI with the real-time personal assistant.
Thank you, Fatma. Ali, in the context of creative expression, how are generative models influencing the boundaries of human and machine collaboration? I think you touched upon that briefly. And what new opportunities does this open up for artists and creators?
Okay, so if we see across the creative process, what happens is that I would conceive something in my mind, right? And then I would express it into the real world, right? So now these are two kind of a skill set. So the first thing is what I want to conceive in my mind, that is something still humans are going to do. The models are just being prompted on that particular idea and they could generate things which are fascinating, right? So again, what is going to happen that this first skill set cannot be replaced, but the second one, because there would be a lot of competition now, because anyone who cannot express themselves well, but they have good ideas, they can translate into the real world. So that's how we see things like Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, DALL-E 2, which is creating different kind of contents. But this opens up a lot of other opportunities as well. What could happen that it's not the humans with which you are competing, there could be bots that could emerge because you could train it based on all the cities in the world. So a bot could emerge with have an Instagram account, putting stories, which is used by generative AI and posting about their travel blog, or maybe a blog for a chef that is creating across. So you could have all these bots that are also there. Now there could be more possibilities as well. You want to create all these particular movies. what happens is, you might heard about runaway AI project. So they say no camera, no lights, just action. So you speak across about your story and that could generate a complete video based on that. So again, if you have thoughts, that could be translated, so you don't need all this production and all this money, so all these things becomes much more democratized. Again, what could happen? The possibilities that old legend like Marilyn Monroe or, for example, Charlie Chaplin, they could come up with new movies, right? Although they are dead, but a complete movie could be orchestrated based on that. Or, for example, Indian legends like Rafi, they could sing new songs now, right? So a lot of possibilities in the creative space would be there. Also, I heard about a news whereby in UAE there is a competition or challenge around using generative AI to create movies, right? So there is something which is happening in this particular area. And maybe someday a panel discussion is happening with a bot over here, which is actually using all its knowledge base to answer the questions which are coming as a prompt. So you are asking a prompt and it is doing all those particular answers. So
What will be better than us, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's a lot of creative freedom that comes today because, personally, I think the way that we interact with machines could possibly change. It's not going to be through your devices or keyboards. It could even be through speech.
Yeah.
And today there was a recent report which I read, I'm not sure if you guys have read, where, with, just head machine devices, HMDs, or electrodes, you're able to translate, your electrical signals into speech and even some sort of images. So they could decipher your dreams as well.
Yeah, so Elon Musk has a company called Neuralink, which is just exploring that particular thing. So again, my mind translate into speech, that is also gone, right? So it is direct think here and manifest in the world. So it is basically like we have all these stories about magic, right? Magic means something you think, you speak a word and something happens. So maybe some past civilizations knows these things and we are now discovering those particular things, right?
True.
Yeah, but I think this will be useful for the children, they have disabilities.
Absolutely. So,
Right.
absolutely. So I think there's a lot of real life applications that you can actually use from this.
True.
So, Suraj, explainable AI, it's a crucial aspect of deploying AI in critical applications. How are advancements in generative intelligence contributing to our ability to understand and interpret the decisions made by AI systems?
So, say it again.
So the question is basically about how do we comprehend or how do we explain some of the decisions that AI takes, right? So how do you, explainable AI is a critical aspect that people talk about. Most people think AI is a black box, the model is a black box. You give it a prompt and you get an output. But what happens in between is not known to many. Right. And there is a school of thought which says that every AI that is available in the market today has to be explainable. Unless you understand and unless you can explain how this has come about, it can't be used in day-to-day life. So, what's happening in this space today, and can you shed some light on that?
So this is an actual incident. I'll take example. I was running very late today, so I took a cab. Okay, and while coming here, the driver asked me what you are doing. So I said in AI. Okay, so he's like, "वो क्या होता है?" Right? I told him and all. So then he asked, "I don't understand AI. What is it?" Okay. So I was also in a good zone. I felt like entertaining him. And I said, boss, in childhood you learn to catch a ball, right? So in the first time, did you catch it? No one did, right? So you try catching, your timing of your arm. You're also seeing the ball, right? But now you have learned it. Okay, so now you catch it. The exact same thing when I ask a robot to do or a machine to do, okay, that is artificial intelligence. He's like, how? Like to the machine also, I ask that machine to catch, okay. And they catch 1 time, 2 time, 10 time, 100 times, they fail. But then they figure it out, what time should I go, how should I catch, how is the ball coming, the trajectory. Okay, it catches. That is exactly with you, it is human intelligence. With machine, it is machine intelligence. Okay. This is intelligence. Okay. Now, if for the same thing, if I ask, what is it? You will say, this is a black box. Actually, to calculate the trajectory of a ball, you need to understand Newtonian physics. You need to understand G, right? What is the G constant? Or you need to know many things how it does. But you don't need that. The reality of life as we see on this planet, many of the things we don't need to understand. But we can figure out how they work by looking at a data set of multiple repetitions. Okay? For example, and this is my favorite example to tease, take 20, 30 years ago, take a trader on Wall Street, okay? He probably doesn't understand how money works, okay? All the economics, what companies are doing, but he knows some things by seeing other trades. He knows what's the recipe of a trade.
Right.
He just does that intelligence in his brain to do that and maybe makes 500K or 1 million a year. That is his intelligence that has come by seeing a pattern. Okay? So, you can try to say ki this is a black box and try to understand and try to get the formula of the curve. It is very difficult. Japanese guys, when they even tried a robot to ride a cycle, it was not as trivial as we would think it is when you do the maths on it. But if you simply make a robot and tell it, boss, do left or right, and just try not to fall, that is an easier problem to solve than to solve the maths and the physics of the entire problem.
Thank you, Suraj. Ali, integrating AI into existing systems and workflows can be quite complex. You've been in this field, and what strategies or approaches should organizations consider when implementing generative AI solutions to maximize those benefits?
Okay, so what I'll say is that there was a book I read about the Jaguar and the Quark, right? So it was by an author called Murray Gell-Mann. It was about quantum mechanics and everything, right? Because quark is a very simple particle, which is even like a subcomponent of electron and proton and everything. And Jaguar is a very complex animal. So if we see the enterprises, they are quite much complex. But if we try to partition them, we would see across that our organization and its data, its processes, its people, and its systems. It is basically 4 things coming across. It could be any business model, but ultimately these are the things. Now, if we break that organization, then you have departments, right? So every department, again, is the same thing. It has its data, processes, people, and its systems. Now, approach from a perspective that for every department, let's say you create on a very macro level, that, okay, I am going to create a digital AI oracle for every department, right? You could give it as a face as well, which is an avatar, and now based on an LLM model, not at an organization level, at the department level, you take all the knowledge base that that department has, train that particular model to it. You would have some workers who would be actually much more efficient and effective. Take those patterns, give it to that particular large language model. You would have certain processes, teach that particular large language model. You would have certain policies, standards, compliance for those particular department, teach it. Now, if such a face of that department comes, then you have a human workforce, and then this workforce, which is represented by that particular department, now how it could assist you. If a new person comes, what, in terms of training, what you do, a human tells about all the processes and everything, this particular bot could assist that particular guy, right? If a customer comes, ask for the query. If it's a customer-facing department, then that particular answers could be provided by that particular bot. right? So the interactions that happens are between employee to employee, for example. So one employee goes to a HR department. So he has some questions, okay, what happens to my gratuity and all those particular things, this bot could answer those particular things. If there is an interaction between a customer and the organization, this particular bot can answer those particular things. If there is a discussion between customer and that employee of that organization, that could also be done with respect to it. And very, very much important thing is that right now we use screen input to translate things into a system.
All right, that's a hard bell. So I think we'll wrap up. But before we wind up, do you guys have any closing comments or any
Shamir,
thoughts?
we took very long answers to your very focused questions. Would you like to add something before we drag on more?
Please feel free to continue. Sorry about the technical issue there. Please
Oh, it
feel
was
free.
a technical
Thank
issue,
you,
so
yes.
we've got time.
Okay. So yeah, what I was saying across is that when speech comes across, because if a customer is speaking, I think this pattern is not great. I have a banking application in which I have to pay a bill. I have to fill certain form, right? This is no longer required. I can just speak across what I want to do. I want to pay a bill with this account and that account, and it should be translated into a system record. So once again, as part of this particular strategy, where every organization, department is a bot, bots of the departments could talk with each other as well. At the same time, they could translate into a system record using an integration. So I think that should be an overall approach for solving this particular problem.
No, thank you for that. I feel like the evolution of where we are as humanity and species is going to be radically changed. The paradigm of how we operate is going to be changed with generative AI. Generative AI is what internet was, and that's the phase that we are in. So everyone thinks, AI generative AI is just ChatGPT or OpenAI, but the applications are far more, and we're just starting to scratch the surface. So like you said, we have capabilities of talking to those knowledge bases, but they could also be agents. You can create an entire organization of agents that can actually conduct and operate tasks that you can just give us instructions, and that could be the future of
Exactly. And see,
work.
if I am a project manager, it has all the planning data, all the previous data. I can say, generate me a project plan, and then here goes the project plan. So a lot of efforts goes. So most of the work that humans would do would be on the thinking plane.
Absolutely.
But whatever is the execution plane, that becomes very, very much easier. So a new set of skill set, think in a better fashion. That's what would be required in the world moving forward.
The future, let's say.
Well, thank you for that, Ali.
Thank you, Shamir.
Before we wrap up, I'd like to open up the floor to questions from the audience. You have a question in the back? Can we get a mic?
Yes, hi. Can anybody comment on the role of AI in finance specifically? And we know that there's a lot of AI being used in hedge funds and trading and cryptocurrency and things of that nature. So where do you see that going in the future? Thank you.
So, by the way, AI exists in finance already since very long ago. People used to call it statistics. Huh? So I also gave the example of a trader, right? So number one, I want to say that AI is not something new that is magical that has come up now. Okay, it has existed. If you ask a good trader, maybe you find them here, they will tell you narratives and news follows the chart and not the other way around. Okay, so it is already there. It's a matter of time before we connect it to a speech system or a brain system. Hey, make me a profit on Dogecoin today, and your trading bot will reply you, it looks difficult, but let me try.
Okay, I'll like to say over here is that, see, we have to see across that AI is that particular traditional AI, and then there is a generative AI as well. Generative AI solves a specific type of problems. So in the finance space, all these predictive models which are available, that okay, how the things are going to perform. So that's a separate sort of AI, and it has been there for a long time. But there could be generative AI applications in the finance sector. You crunch a lot of data, right? And you want to actually try to understand based on the graphs and everything, based on which you use tools or you ask your vendors to actually create all those particular graphs and everything in a software. With a generative AI model, you could say across what are my sales statistics and what are the areas I need to improve. Again, using the speech, and it could be visualized in the forms of graphs. And if you will see across Microsoft Power BI or all these providers which are providing all these BI solutions, they have now added this generative AI component on top of their offerings as well. So this is how things are going to change. Again, speech, you interact with the system with speech, and it's output the things as a visualization, and maybe in a 2D format and later on in a metaverse.
And for the crypto trading as well, maybe you can leverage the AI like a robot, so it will help you to take better actions. You know, they sell and buy at time. So there are a lot of applications, by the way, right now using AI as a robot for crypto trading. So you don't need to open your wallet and check the prices and start trading. The robot itself can do it for you. And using Gen AI, instead of using the robot, you can communicate with him, with this agent, based on your language, and then he will be taking the action on behalf of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Fatma. So I think we're out of time. Thank you, and